Welcome to the Makers of MidCity podcast. I'm your host, Clark Dunn.
And I'm Nadia Niakosri, the Senior Director of Development for RCP Companies.
Yeah, and today we have the opportunity to sit down with Cody Morgan of Octo Hospitality. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
So you want to start with introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about kind of your journey to get here to Huntsville.
Yeah. What a journey it's been. That's for sure. My name's Cody Morgan. I'm one of the owners of Octo Hospitality. I am born and raised New Orleans, and that's a big, part of me. And I think and our company as well, Octo Hospitality, with roots in New Orleans. I've really just been in restaurants my whole life. My partner as well, he's, been in everything from fine dining to, beach restaurants in the Caribbean. So we really have a lot of a background in really just great restaurants. A while back, we decided to kind of branch out on our own, after working for a lot of different restaurant groups in New Orleans and traveling all over the world and opening, different brands. Really just felt like it was time for us to kind of branch out on our own, and start our own company where we, felt great about the direction of the company and had some control on it. So that's kind of where Octo Hospitality began, in New Orleans. And then, just speaking to some great people that we had worked with on different projects around the world. Really, a great architect told us about this development in Huntsville and this great group developing it, RCP Companies. And in particular, a gentleman named Max that we needed to come to Huntsville and meet. He's a very hard person to get a hold of. We
Notoriously.
We really just kept trying to get on the phone and be able to introduce ourselves and hear about the project, and then found ourselves within about an hour of being in Huntsville and kind of called Nadia and said, "Hey, we're in town, can we meet?" So we laugh about it now, but we went to the very first Domain South, which is now Le Petit Bijou, on the square. But, we came there and we laughed at Max and Nadia to make sure we were like legitimate people and cool. So,
well, we had like a bigger, more important project at the time that we were trying to get running, which we talk about a lot on these episodes, which was the camp.
Yeah.
We'd started the camp, we were a couple of years in, and man, it was a struggle. We were real estate developers trying to operate a restaurant,
music
bar, venue, coffee shop, all in house.
Wearing too many hats at one time.
Yeah. We found ourselves being operators as developers, and that's definitely not what we know or can do. So we wanted to show them the camp as like, okay, we have this thing. It's losing money. We
need your help, please.
We need your help. It was such great bones. I mean, I remember walking through the camp for the first time, just being like so charmed. Yeah. It's such an amazing venue. And even from then to now, it's changed so much, but still has some of those great, just charming, gritty aspects to it. I think a lot of people walk into the camp and say like, oh, I don't feel like I'm in Huntsville, or I feel like I'm in Austin. I feel like I'm in New Orleans, like weird kind of courtyard, just backyard vibes. So the camp, we kind of fell in love with the camp. Especially, right when we came and saw it and really got to tour it. Saw a lot of areas of opportunity, as we call them, with the camp. There was just, silly things. They have the farmer's market and the camp wouldn't be open because of staffing or, just operational things that were a struggle.
And if your hours are weird and people don't know when you're open, then they don't know when to come out. Yeah. So it was definitely an operation challenge that we had at the time. And we brought in Cody and Jamie and Octo Hospitality to help us make the camp a real establishment.
Yeah.
I do remember when the camp opened, I guess 2017, I was graduating high school. And so I went to college here, and it's like, oh, like the camp is a place you should go. Like the camp is a place you should go. Okay, great. And then like trying to figure out like, when is it open? And like how to to navigate it. Because I think there was at the initial launch of the camp, that kind of like, not like a barrier to entry, but it wasn't as easy as it is today.
And like, what was it? What is it? What is the
I'm confused
with
what's going on.
Focused.
Yes.
You were only going to the camp, I think, if there was an event.
Yeah.
You weren't going to grab a cup of coffee or, going to read a book or going to meet somebody for a happy hour drink, or just like going to sit and enjoy the outside on a pretty day.
Yeah.
I think it was very much more focused on like people only thought it was open if there was something happening.
For sure.
there.
And I think it was one of those things too, as MidCity has blossomed and grown around it, it's been able to the camp's been able to find its footing and its role. And now it's a very defined role. And now you understand what the camp is. And then you throw in all these mix of events that the camp now does. It's like, what can't it do? There's so much happening. But that first event that you did at the camp, take us back to that. It was February of 2020, right before COVID, and you were doing the Mardi Gras. Talk a little bit about how that first event went.
I literally get the chills because it was just one of my favorite events, I think still to this day, that we've ever thrown. It was really the first time we got to see Huntsville show up, for us anyway. It was, such a great event. We really wanted to bring Mardi Gras, or a sense of it, to Huntsville. Obviously, there's certain aspects of Mardi Gras that are very difficult to pull off, a parade, a this or that. But we said, let's throw a little Mardi Gras festival at the camp. We brought in some amazing bands, Ivan Neville with Dumpster Funk and Flow Tribe, and some really great bands out of New Orleans to bring the funk. And, we had boiled crawfish out there. We had jambalaya being cooked in huge pots. I had gentlemen from, Jambalaya Grill Company come out and cook. And we had crawfish boiling and beignets. And it was honestly just the best day. I think we had probably over 10,000, 15,000 people come out throughout the day.
Wow.
It was incredible. We opened
From
the
all
doors.
parts of the city.
Every
type of person you could possibly
100%.
imagine was at the camp.
It was
that day.
incredible. And from the minute the event started, I've never seen this. We started the event, I think, at 11:30, and we kicked off with St. Bartlett's Choir. And we were full, packed. It was just a beautiful day, great weather. So that for us was just a really great omen of the things that we could do here. So I really think that event is definitely a critical moment in our Huntsville past. I think even for Max and RCP as well. It's kind of the first time it was all right, let us show you what we can do. So it was very important for us to execute on all levels.
What do you think are the key elements of a successful venue, a successful event? What are some of the things that you guys brought in as a company, as a hospitality company? What do you guys hang your hat on as the key success factors of an event and venue like that?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that comes to mind is our team. Yep. I'm very blessed to have a great team there, and it's something that takes a lot of years to build. And building a great team that supports you, that's on board, that you take care of, they're going to take care of you, and ultimately them build a team that's going to take care of our guests. So I think that is something that's really, really important to the camp, especially as a venue. But also, the ability to be diverse. I think that I've never seen a venue be able to be as diverse as the camp. You will go from a farmer's market where it's, families and puppies and farmers and makers to, a Taylor Swift night where you have everyone from high school to college to, 40s, 50s screaming Taylor Swift music. We have everything from hip hop nights to R&B nights to EDM, rock shows, so it's been such a cool venue. We have workshops, even outside of music, workshops and reading events, and just different ways to bring community together there has been such an amazing thing to see. It's a venue that doesn't get plugged into a hole of being this venue. You go here for rock shows or cover bands. It's ours is so diverse, and I think that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, and we recently had Brian Manley, creative director, that's kind of helped creates all the events for the camp.
One of my favorite people. Shout
it was
out,
an
Brian.
amazing episode. But he talks about it's often lost on him just that most of the events at the camp are free. And
almost all.
And then you're curating not only this design of the event, but then on y'all's end at Octo Hospitality, creating this food and this experience from drinks to food that ties it in with the creative element that Brian's able to bring in as well. How do you think that's continued to blossom over the last 4 or 5 years, where everyone at RCP and everyone that's involved with these events and involved with these projects at the camp, from the designers to the front of house staff, is able to kind of work together to create solid events, and also be able to then throw in events that are very unique. I mean, from wiffle ball to like, and you're working on even future events that are going to be like things that's never been seen here in Huntsville before, and be able to be successful with those.
Yeah, I think the longer you do certain things, like anything, right? Practice makes you perfect, and we're really starting to get our footing with these things, and then be able to bleed it onto our team. Recently we had a member of our team. We really tell people like, look, you have ideas, right? Like events. Come to us with a plan and full execution, and let's go do it. And recently one of our team members, actually our chef, came up. She wanted to do a hoedown, a country style hoedown with like farmers out front and line dancing and a mechanical bull, and wacky idea, but it was something cool that we had never done before. And so, she fully executed it, and we put it on, and it was amazing, and definitely something that's going to grow, over the next year. So, to see somebody on our team also be able to go and learn from us, to be able to know how to execute event from the idea point to the finish line, was something really special, and something that we really, are excited to continue to see members of our team be able to grow in that aspect as well, because they're the ones at the venue every day. They're the ones talking to people and seeing what people respond to and what they don't respond to. So it's been really fun to kind of like throw some stuff at the wall and see what hits and what doesn't.
Sure. I remember you guys saying like, oh, we want to do a big event for college football, and I was like, you don't understand, college football is not like professional football like the Saints in New Orleans. People like to be at home in front of their
we're still trying to crack that code.
And no one talks to them, no interruptions.
It's not like the same culture as like professional football viewing, and that was like a trial and error type event. But I want to go back and talk about the two things that you're mentioning are two of your like success factors in what you guys do, your staff, and then the diversity of what you guys offer. One thing that we love about working with Octo is that you guys are true hospitality professionals. In and out what it takes to operate a very successful hospitality establishment, and you're training your staff that way too. Everything from like, I know you have a big core value of like, when you see somebody walk in and out of the venue, you have to approach them and say hello, welcome to the camp, welcome to Blue Oak Barbecue, because you guys also operate Blue Oak Barbecue that just opened here, and we'll talk about that. But you're really training your staff too, from anywhere from like the very first touch point of like them walking in to sitting down and ordering what they want to order. You are an expert at that. So we're trying to cultivate more of that in Huntsville. The hospitality workforce is few and far between, as you are well aware, as you're trying to staff the restaurants here. So talk about that a little bit, and like what it takes to be a hospitality professional.
Yeah. Look, I give a lot of that to my roots of coming from New Orleans. I truly believe that you're born with hospitality in your blood in New Orleans, like whether you work in a restaurant or not, or a hotel or hospitality establishment. When somebody comes over to your house in New Orleans, you're feeding them, you're taking care of them. So I always think about any guests in our establishments as somebody walking in my home. I wouldn't have somebody walk into my home and not say, hey, how are you doing? Like you would greet them. You would tell them thanks for coming when they leave. If they're looking for something, if they're confused, I'm going to ask them if they need something. Where's the restroom? So a lot of these hospitality things are very, they're very normal.
It's like second nature
it's an instinct.
But how do you train your staff to know that too?
I think the biggest thing is teaching people why. Why do you do something? Like, why do you greet somebody when they come in the door? It's like because it's warm and welcoming, and they know people are in there, but nobody spoke to them. So I think that's the biggest thing. I really, a lot of my management, I have reading certain books, as funny as that is, or silly as it is. There's a great book. It's Unreasonable Hospitality, and books like Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. These are great restaurateurs that just teach hospitality. They teach you how to develop a great team. It's like what's the best thing you could do to reward your best employees? It's like hire better employees, to work beside them, and how to, just grow a team, and also treat, your guests, with hospitality, like from start to finish.
And elevate their experience,
yeah.
and their experience at any establishment that you run. Like I remember in the book Unreasonable Hospitality, he mentions the story of a waiter passing by and them saying that they wanted their one regret of not being in of leaving New York is not getting like a New York hot dog. So they run out, they get a New York style hot dog, they come in, they plate it really nicely. It was a fine dining establishment, and they bring it out and they're like, we don't want you leaving the city without the, with zero
I literally
regrets.
told that story at a manager meeting at one of our establishments yesterday. And then I got half, almost all the team on board to read Unreasonable Hospitality. And I'm like, I'll pay for it. You buy it and I'll pay. But it's
a unique experience.
It's the best story snippet out of that book that you can say of how to kind of say like what it's about. And that's really what we try and teach.
Totally.
And sometimes, it's teaching people by being there every single pre-shift. Every single day, 1 week, I'll come and say, hey guys, like this is how we treat our team. This is what we're going to do for our guests today. And really, as much time as it takes, but spending time with each employee, every cashier at Blue Oak, every food runner, every bartender, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but to me, sometimes that's the only real way we're going to do it. And then also by showing them, by being in the restaurant or at the camp, walking around, talking to guests, approaching tables, see how they like things, ask them where they're from. If it's their first time, like getting to know our guests is something that they need to see us do as well.
Yeah, because Cody's the owner of Octo Hospitality, but you'll see her behind the bar at Blue Oak or behind the register at the camp, like serving food. Like she is on every part of the operations at the camp and the establishments.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it, and I'm very blessed to have a partner who lives and breathes the same way. If I'm having to step behind the bar at Blue Oak, like he's bar backing, putting beer in the cooler, and sometimes that's just what we have to do. Yeah. And again, it shows your team, like we're never going to ask you to do anything that we are not also going to do.
Yeah. I think the analogy that you often hear, and the analogy that you don't live by at Octo Hospitality is do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
because like if that's the way you are running any establishment, then it's hard for your employees to buy in on what you're telling them, because you're doing the complete opposite.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's an industry that's tough to find help. It's an industry that's that when you find good help, you want to keep them. Yeah. And so what better way to keep them than creating this environment that is fun to be in, that is willing to take feedback and willing to take ideas. Yeah. And also you do the exact same thing that they're doing and you're willing to do it. And I think that goes a long way in creating a culture and creating an environment that has allowed you to be successful from the camp to Blue Oak and then even into future
Exactly. And that's something that we're so excited to be able to do just in the MidCity district is as the district grows and as Huntsville grows, we're growing. So now we have different opportunities to allow people to grow within our company. Right now we're promoting somebody who was working at the camp and, in a very, kind of specific role who's now coming on board with Octo Hospitality to help us with all fronts. So we're getting to this point that we've always talked about to be able to have different opportunities for people. Maybe you're more into wine, or maybe you love the outdoor aspect of the camp, or you love barbecue. We now have different opportunities to offer to our team members. So that's been something that's been really exciting, especially over the last couple of months. And in the next 6 months, we have a lot of different opportunities to offer the people who've already worked so hard for us. So it's exciting to see them grow with us.
Yeah. As you're trying to diversify the events, you're also trying to diversify the offerings of the restaurants and bars in Huntsville as well. Like you guys being in New Orleans, there's a original one-of-one type bar restaurant on every street corner, every alleyway. And you're trying to bring that flair to Huntsville, where like the new concepts that we're working on for MidCity is something that you'll only find in Huntsville. So you want to tease that a little bit?
Yeah, look, we're excited to be partnering with some other groups in MidCity and, who are very successful in Huntsville, as well, and who we have not only formed a friendship with, but just are excited to go into business with as well. So we have some exciting new projects,
as you've learned more about like Huntsville, you've been here for 5 years now. You have a really good grasp of what's offered here and what's not. So the new concepts that you guys are working on are going to be something that's fresh, that's cool, that's approachable.
Yeah, I think for us, again, we love original concepts to Huntsville. We love chef-driven restaurants as well, that really focus on the food. There's, look, not to say that there's not great places who do it here. Shout out Domain South, Church Street Group. They do some really great stuff. So we're really just trying to add more of it. We want a great brunch place. We want a place to go have a nice cocktail before the Orion, have some small plates, maybe a glass of wine. So, we'd like to see maybe a little bit more feminine concepts. Huntsville has a tendency to be a little masculine. So we're looking for some lighter, fresher things. But also, we want MidCity to be the place where you're coming and you're popping around to a couple different places. If it's a Orion show day and you want to make a day of it, great. You can go to Blue Oak for some snacks, Indigo Hotel coming. That might have a nice restaurant in it soon. And, be able to have, a small plate, a cocktail, and be able to pop around. I think that's what people like to do is go and know that you're not going to be stuck in one place. So you're really starting to see that happen in MidCity. And really, even just with Blue Oak opening, we've gotten to meet so many of the residents in MidCity. These are people who are living here and so dang excited for things to start popping up. And that's when it feels really good too, when you're like seeing people walk from Trader Joe's, home with their bags, and then they're sitting at your bar a couple hours later, and then they're at the camp. You're really starting to see this ecosystem of like this living, walkable district. That's just something that's very exciting.
Yeah, I love that word ecosystem. Honestly, we use it a lot, but it's true because you have so many elements of people like coming to MidCity, and the premise of we want people to come for one thing, whether they are visiting a show at the Orion or Blue Oak or whatever, but then stay a while.
Yeah.
Walk around, explore the district, go into the parks. And so you have the people. Last year, we opened our first residence here in this building that we're in right now, Metronome, which added a new layer to people being here more because they're here at night after work, or maybe they're remote working from the building itself. You have people visiting from out of town, staying at the hotels, and then you have locals here that are coming to eat and shop. So all these people that are gathering in one place and wanting them to stay here a while and explore the fresh new concepts that you can only have in Huntsville. That's the vision.
Yeah.
And I think it's like with bringing Blue Oak here too. I mean, Blue Oak is a New Orleans based thing. So I feel like for you being from New Orleans and being now here in Huntsville, that was probably a pretty cool opportunity to, bring that, that flair of barbecue to Huntsville. Talk a little bit about how that kind of came about, and then how, I guess we're 3 or 4 months in since the opening of it, how that has gone in the community's feedback from it.
Yeah, Blue Oak, a lot of people don't know exactly how special bringing Blue Oak is, especially for me. Ronnie and Phil, who are the original founders of the brand, recipes, food, everything, they created Blue Oak right out of college with one smoker popping up in a bar that we used to go to after we went out. So that says a lot. But, those are two of my best friends from middle school. I met Phil in 3rd grade, Ronnie in 5th grade, and we've all not just went to school together, like we've all been lifelong friends. Our families know each other. We've all kept up with each other's lives. So it's very special. A lot of people had approached them. They were very successful with Blue Oak in New Orleans. It really kind of gained like a cult following, to be honest. And they had been approached many a times to do a second location. But when we started getting, really settled here in Huntsville, and when we started really finding out more about the project and seeing some of the buildings that were going, I knew one here would be a success. So really just kept bugging them about it. Finally got them up here, took them to play at the Ledges. Shout out the Ledges for having a beautiful golf course to schmooze people at. But, you know, I think they came here and met Max, Nadia, and then again, you know, fell in love with the project, fell in love with the district, and, you know, really just very honored that they felt like they trusted myself and Jamie, my partner, enough to be able to be the first kind of like outside operators and owners of a Blue Oak. So that was something that was really special to me. You know,
they know that you guys would keep that original, the level of detail that they put into their food, that you guys would carry that out.
Absolutely. You know, creating your own brand and being that successful is something that's so just like near and dear and precious to you. And to have two of my, you know, best friends in life pretty much allow us to be able to do that was something that I still to this day don't take lightly. You know, it's amazing to have ownership in it as well, you know, loving the brand so much from just seeing them start it. So, you know, it's something that I put a lot of effort into, and myself and Jamie, you know, really make sure that we're there on a daily basis, you know, talking to people, asking how they like it, really making sure we work with the team and the staff. And Huntsville, the reaction has been just so amazing. You know, people have, you know, just loved the food, loved the vibe. Of course, we have, you know, any challenges that, you know, a new restaurant would have, but it's just been incredible. You know, people love the vibe. We've had live music on Sundays, and that just, you know, starting to see it kind of vibe. You know, MidCity on a Sunday is really nice. People are walking around. There's the market, there's live music. So it's just really, it's been such an incredible experience. And I think it's just been such a great fit for that corner, that spot, and we've had just so many amazing compliments from the area, so it's been awesome.
That building was designed for that concept. That if you go out there to eat, you'll see that this New Orleans building was designed to look very old and rustic and look like it's always been there. It was designed by a local architect, Matheny Goldman, but that end cap that Blue Oak is in, it's a very cool, gritty kind of, it's supposed to look like a renovated service station. That we put Blue Oak in.
The best compliments we can get too is people who say they came because they smelled it. You know, oh, I was over at Trader Joe's and we weren't even hungry and we smelled smoke. So we drove around until we found it, you know, like
that's awesome.
Some of those things, like, and it's like why you intentionally did a screened out, you know, smokehouse. It's like the reason we did it to have people tell me like, oh, that's why I'm here. Those are just some of those moments where you're like, wow, this is crazy to see it go from an idea phase to what it is.
It's working.
Yeah. It's great.
I think, and it's crazy just to think that, you know, how far in the planning for MidCity we are, but there's still so much more to come.
Yeah.
And just to think of the success and the growth that you've had with Octo Hospitality here, with the camp, with Blue Oak, with now even future things in the next few years down the road, and even in the next 10 years. I mean, it's just going to be incredible to see the role in which you'll play here to captivate the community, captivate the audiences that come. And I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. But I mean, it's
I don't
been incredible.
feel like it.
Yeah, way more to do.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk a little bit about Octo Hospitality and your journey here in Huntsville.
Thank you guys so much. We got lots more to come, so stay tuned.
Thanks, Cody.